Well, greetings. This is Dr. Scott Lively. It is November 20th. I'm here on the farm. I'm sitting in front of my water feature that I've been working on, and you can see it's advanced a fair pace since I spoke with you last in this setting. Uh, what incredible times we are in. And today I'm going to talk about the biblical proportions of the corruption that we're seeing, not just in this country but around the world, in this amazing showdown between the globalists and the American constitutionalists. Really something. And of course, when the stakes are so high and the outcome is still so undetermined, there's a lot of room for agitation, emotional agitation, on both sides. And even those who are strong Christians who trust the Lord, that just not knowing the outcome with absolute certainty, and being working as hard as we can to uphold what we can do, to do what we can do in the process. There are times when you just have so much. I have so much emotional agitation that I have to do something, and the two things that I do when I'm dealing with those things is to get out in nature and to do something constructive, right? To do something creative with my hands, with my focus my mind on something positive and good. And that's what I've been doing. And you see, all the developments that have been made here are all a reflection of using this project here in the natural setting as a place to get my sense of balance restored, to spend time meditating on the things of God, and it's great. But I want to talk about this corruption. You know, what we're seeing is we've never seen anything like this before, at least on this kind of a scale. And even in biblical history, there's only been a few times, I think, that really approach the level of corruption that we're coping with here in the United States of America regarding the election fraud of 2020. And those two times from the scripture, I believe, first is the time of Jeremiah, when Jeremiah, living in Jerusalem, was the sole voice of truth when all of the leaders of the country were corrupt, and even the church, the priests, they were what Jeremiah's time was known for, as they were expecting the inevitable siege of Babylon that would end with the exile of all the people of Jerusalem. There was this time of incredible turmoil and pressure when Jeremiah was telling everyone, this is not going to end well. Babylon is going to take us off. And the false prophets were saying, no, no. They were spinning their own version of reality to please the political powers. And at the same time, there was external control over the nation, back and forth. In fact, Egypt and Babylon traded off, right? One would wrest control from the other, and the last few kings of Judah, the kingdom of Judah, and the city of Jerusalem were, for all intents and purposes, agents of either Egypt or Babylon, very much like what we're seeing right now with Biden and the far left being completely in bed with China, communist China, and now, of course, with Venezuela, Cuba. We're seeing that with all of the corruption related to Dominion voting systems and Smartmatics and all that's happened with that. The second, and I think more accurate, more direct, more closely parallel biblical scenario to what we're experiencing now would be King Herod and the Herodians at the time of Jesus' earthly ministry, right? Actually, from the time that he was born. King Herod was a very wicked man. He came to power by slaughtering the entire Hasmonean royal dynasty, right? The descendants of the Maccabees who had overthrown Antiochus Epiphanes, the Antichrist figure from Daniel 11. And backed by the Romans, Herod had slaughtered them all, become the king, and he was the political ruler. He had control over the entire political establishment, backed by the Roman Empire, which was very wicked at that time. And of course, this is the same King Herod who tried to kill the baby Jesus, or actually the toddler Jesus, and all that. You know the story. So here we are in the United States of America in 2020 with seeing corruption at that level. And I've been in this battle for a very long time, and I have been in the battle in a way that very few people have been. Very few people have seen and experienced the level of corruption that is now related to the attempted coup against President Trump. It's been going a 4-year coup attempt, but I went through it in standing up for the biblical truth regarding the sanctity of marriage and biblical sexuality. And as a result of of the stand that I took, and especially in my capacity as communications director for the Oregon Citizens Alliance and our ballot measure attempting to stop the LGBT agenda completely back in the 1992 Ballot Measure 9 campaign, we had a much smaller scale, the same level of pervasiveness of corruption, in which I'm talking about corruption that's spread across all the institutions of the society, in which the judiciary, the executive, the legislative, the media, the foundations, in which they're all under the control of the hard left, and there's really no one that you can turn to for support except the people. And that was where we were at in Oregon. I've done a video on that, but that's where we are right now. And up until Donald Trump won the 2016 election, this pervasive network of Marxists was visible to a degree, but all you could see at that point was the tip of the iceberg. But as I've stated previously, there is a biblical principle that when you stand for the truth and you refuse to back down, and you're doing it on an issue that's of critical importance to the devil and to his minions in the Marxist movement, then they dedicate greater and greater and greater resources to defeat you, until eventually, if you stand strong enough, then all of the players will be out on the battlefield, and all of them exposed to the scrutiny of whoever has eyes to see. And that's where we are right now. It is astonishing, the level of mendacity in the media and big tech, the uniformity of their loyalty to the Marxist narrative, and their willingness to conspire in bearing false witness against the president and covering up the biggest political scandal in American history. That is it's mind-blowing. But equally mind-blowing is the persistence of President Trump and the remnant of believers and patriots, constitutionalists, who have rallied together to prevent the takeover of our country. And that's where we are right now. This is corruption of biblical proportions, but at the same time, it's an awakening of the people like we haven't seen since the founding of the nation in the 1770s. That's the parallel that we have. And anyway, I believe we're going to prevail in this, and I believe that that's going to happen. I've done a series of videos, and in each of them, I've expressed the same level of optimism and confidence, and my positions, my arguments have been vindicated as time has gone on. And the most recent one is that the hammer is going to come down. The hammer of justice is going to come down. And that's what we see. The press conference that took place yesterday with Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and the rest of the Trump legal team, the case that was laid out was just overwhelming, and so overwhelming that that it exposed the media suppression and spin of it even more. And this is what God does. God lets the wicked prove their wickedness to the point where there's no doubt, because when his justice comes down and the consequences for having defied him and defied the biblical law and the justice, the system of justice that's built into the universe, when he finally takes action, it's only when the wicked have come to the place where there is absolutely no doubt that they deserve the consequences that they get. So that's where we are right now, so hang in there, folks. This is not over. In fact, we're starting to see, I believe, the President Trump's end game, the early stages of the end game of this. I think it's going to take several weeks for this to play out, but it's moving very fast now, and it's exciting to watch. As nerve-wracking as it is, it's exciting to watch, and what an incredible time that we have the privilege of being able to live in, to be able to witness this, and to be able to tell our grandchildren, if the Lord tarries, to be able to tell our grandchildren what we saw with our own eyes when this came down. And every person who may be, I mean, I don't have that much big of an audience, but this is, the idea is, every person that is siding with the wicked because they think that's the way the wind is blowing right now, they're going to be very unhappy with the consequences for themselves. If you, as Jeremiah said, if you can't even walk with the footmen, right? How are you going to do when you have to run with chariots, right? And if you can't stand up in the time of relative peace, then what are you going to do in the thicket of the Jordan? And that spiritual principle is at play right now. We should all be standing for the truth because it's the truth, and not because you think you know what the outcome's going to be of a political contest. So, God bless you, friends, and I'll talk to you next time. Well, let me take just a minute. I'll show you the water feature. This is, I haven't shown it for a while, and here it is. That's where the main waterfall is going to flow, and then I've got some new features here. There's going to be a fountain in the middle, and of course now I've got the wall in. So it's going to be another while before this is done, but anyway, progress report. God bless you. We'll talk to you next time.